Awards for his creative and dynamic presentation. He's been featured on NBC, CBS, Wall Street Journal, and Business Week magazine. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jon Goldman.
All right, thank you. All right, select the frog. Say yes, select the frog. Say yes, select the frog. Say yes. There's a first class. There's a boat now. Yeah, baby, get one of the frogs. People up front always get one. Select the frog. Say yes. Yeah, get one of the frogs. Who else needs one? Yeah, give me one of the frogs. Yeah, all right. Who else needs one? Come on. Yeah, who else needs a frog? Here you go, bring it back. Who else needs a frog? Say yes, give me a frog. Anyone? Yeah, man, get in, yes. I want a big yes. Who else needs one? Oh, all the way over here. Yeah, give me one of them. Frog, baby. Okay, who else needs one? Okay, so welcome. This is the Amway seminar. You're here to learn how to sell to your friends and family. Okay, so my first question to you is, why did I give out frogs? I could have given out anything. And have you ever heard of Pavlov? Right? You know how Pavlov works? Pavlov works as a stimulus and response. So I ask a question, and you give me a response. And if you give me a response, so I give you a kiss, because that's where it goes. Oh. Okay, so why did I give out frogs? I'm really a prince. Oh, that's nice. Okay, that's not bad. Okay, and are you my frog, baby? Okay. Oh, you got to kiss a lot of frogs before you find a prince. Otherwise, if you kiss a toad, you get a bunch of warts. Okay, what else? A leap of faith. Okay, very good. What'd you say? A leap of faith. Okay, what else?
When you get knocked down, don't be afraid to jump back up.
Oh, very nice. When you get knocked down, don't be afraid to get back up. What else? Oh, they like to get little gifts. There you go. Yeah, like the funniest thing is, oh yeah, give me one of those rubber frogs. What do you want a rubber frog for? Okay, so you will remember me. And I tell you, I've traveled all around the world, and I've seen these frogs all over the place on people's computers. So now, what I want to ask you is, you know, if you put a frog into a pot of water and slowly turn up the heat, what's a smart frog do? Jumps out. But you know, frogs are a little bit like people in the catering business. You know why? If you slowly turn up the heat, you know what they'll do? They'll boil to death. And so frogs, do you know how frogs start out? Frogs start out in land or in water? In water. And so they start off as a tadpole, and they have a little tail in the back. And then an amazing thing happens is they grow some front legs, and then they grow some back legs. Now, what's that have to do with me and you? The amazing thing, you're right, the amazing thing about this whole transformation gig is that the tail, the thing that gave it the most power, it actually starts to fall away. And then they become amphibious. Can you say amphibious? Very good. So amphibious means that they live in land or water. And what's that got to do with us? What that has to do with us is the fact that, listen, things are not the same that they were 3 months, 3 years, or 5 years ago. How many of you totally agree? We're in a totally different environment. So the question is, are you willing to adapt and change? I'm going to suggest some ideas to you today that are going to be outside your comfort zone. It's called comfort zone because it's comfortable there. Outside your comfort zone means it's uncomfortable. So what I want to know is if you're prepared and willing, if I were to give you ideas that would actually make a difference in your business and your life, how many of you are willing to go outside your comfort zone? Okay, excellent. So it's going to be like a jacket. Some jackets, they don't fit. You know, I'm going to give you some ideas. Don't waste your time and don't waste mine if you're going to leave here and you're just going to take a few notes and not do anything. This is about taking some things and actually being actionable afterwards. Okay, so now, what you're going to be is a frog that adapts. And you're going to grow and change. Let me give you a little bit of background about where I came from. This is my wife, Jen. We just had our 21-year anniversary. That's cool, right? Yeah. So our family has a place down in Florida, and we originally met in Israel. Now, this is my oldest son, who's actually going into the Israeli army in 3 weeks. Whoa. Yeah. So I want you to write down this word, why. What is your why? This is my why. Everywhere I go, not everywhere, oftentimes when I go, I take one of my kids with me. I have 5 kids now, thank God, which is kind of cool. And he's my oldest. And so he likes mountain biking. So recently I was in North Carolina. I took him mountain biking because that's what he loves. And this is my middle son, Dovey, like in Lovey-Dovey. So he likes snow tubing. So we go snow tubing together. And this is Ruthie. This is from last week, actually. So I do special time with each kid. That's my why. The question is, what's your why? When you find a team in a person that's really clear about their why, they're unstoppable. But when a person's not clear about their why, any direction is a good direction. And so for him, for Ruthie, so this is kind of fun. She's kind of fun, and so I gave her a set of clues. If you have kids, it's good to do special time with them. And so it's the time that leads up to it that's really most important. So for 2 weeks, I gave her clues for each time. I put a flag on her bed, and I put 6 matches, and that was taking her to 6 Flags. And then we did all sorts of fun things, and put a pot on there, and took a picture of my hair for Harry Potter. And then we went rafting, that kind of thing. But the point is that I spend special time with them. And then this is Tali, and now this is our dessert. This is Ruthie. I'm sorry, this is Shimmy. So this is Shimmy, like in Shimmy Shimmy Cocoa Pop. So he's my why. And everyone needs to know what's driving them. Look, are we in business to work, to live, or live to work? It's a bit of a trick question. The truth is you're going to spend most of your time working. And if you're going to work, you might as well have a lot of meaning and value in it so that you can also spend time with your family. And the goal is to have enough free time to do that. Here's the problem. It all starts with the myth. What's the myth? The myth of catering. How many of you are caterers? Raise your hand. Okay. How many of you are here for the NASCAR convention? Okay. So the problem with most catering is like this. People think if you build it, and if you're really better than other people, they'll come. Not. The truth is, how many people do you know that are really good at catering and are struggling and have had to sell out to someone else and aren't busy? So I want to share with you the most important skill that you could ever learn. The most important skill is if you can learn how to market yourself and how to get people to give you business. If you have lots of qualified prospects and people giving you lots of money, will that solve a lot of your issues, yes or yes? Totally. So what we want to talk about is our potential solution. So the potential solution looks like this. If I could show you how to get more customers, would that be great? How many of you would like that? All right, how many of you like it if I could show you how to get more good customers? Right, right? So this is our challenge. Because there's plenty of people that will be happy to have you cater their party, and they'll do it for, can you do it for 150 bucks? Is that about what it costs to do this? So we're looking for more good customers. And I'll tell you the way to do it. You need to build what we call a compelling company. What's a compelling company? A compelling company is the following. It's compelling to customers. It's compelling to referral sources. It's compelling to the media. It's compelling to the team, to your own team, and it's compelling to the owner or the investor. So how so? Look, it's compelling to customers. If you can create an irresistible offer, a really compelling offer, people will want to do business with you. Do you get that? If you can compete, if you can create and deliver on the promise, look, you're in the business of making promises and delivering on promises. You're in the promise-making business. You make a promise and deliver on it. Your referral partners will give you more business if you actually deliver on your promise. And also, if you make them look good, the truth is they don't really care too much about you. They care about themselves. And if you make them look good, they'll be very happy. So the media. If you can create buzz, oh, how awesome is that? When you can create buzz, so the media wants to know what you're doing. That's a compelling company has buzz around it. A compelling company has a team where people want to work. I'm coming right back out here next week. I'm going to Zappos. Right? Anyone ever been to Zappos? So Zappos is an awesome place. People want to work there. Southwest Airlines is an awesome place. People want to work there. And you know what? It's not because they pay more money. Because it's compelling. Because you feel good about it. And finally, how many of you own your own company? So for you as owners or investors, you want freedom. A lot of people, they start a business and they say, I want to start a business because I want to have freedom. That's like having a baby and saying, I want to have a baby so I can have more freedom. Like, who thought of that? Right? That's crazy. If they weren't so cute, we'd never do it. So you want freedom and you want to be profitable. So that's why we're building this. Now, what gives me the rights to be up here? So I used to own Goldman Promotions. I had a couple partners, and we were about number 27 out of over 20,000 in America. and we went through a process: simplify, codify, and multiply. You want to write down those 3 words: simplify, codify, and multiply. If you want to get free, that's how you're going to do it. And so this is what we did. So I worked with all sorts of companies. I worked with the NBA, worked with extraordinary events, worked with Purina. I'm originally from St. Louis. Anyone from the Midwest? Right? So I'm from St. Louis, and I was in part responsible for the relaunch and rebranding of Dog Chow, which is the largest brand of dog food in the world. I've worked with Nick's Pizza and Pub. Nick's was just on, you think, what's so fancy food, what's so famous about food? He was just on the cover of Inc. magazine. When you get these principles of being a compelling company and you really rock, you can change the world. American Biosciences, nonprofits like National Wildlife Federation. I'm currently a mentor for senators in America. Cookies by Design, IBM on the Big Blue strategy side, United States Olympic Committee, Blue Cross and Blue Shield. I live in Baltimore, Black & Decker. And also, since I live in Baltimore, I work with Cal Ripken. Anyone know Cal Ripken? Right? A bunch of women. I don't know who he is. Anyway, so he's one of the most famous baseball players in the world and happens to be a really good guy. The Direct Marketing Association, I got the largest response rate of a member, yet a member campaign that they've ever had for DMAW, Ford, and got over 30% response rate for Haagen-Dazs. So the reason why I share all this with you is that we've done thousands of tests. We've tested what works and doesn't work. And so when you're going in a forest, one of the great things to know is what direction not to go. So I've made so many mistakes, and I want to share those mistakes with you, and also share with you the things that work best. Now, what I found is that there are about 23 counterintuitive catering strategies for success. I'm going to share with you today 6 of them. If you like the rest, so I'll give you the rest afterwards, if you find you have value out of it. In just a minute, actually, you can go ahead and pass out these sheets if you wouldn't mind, please. If you like them, so you'll be able to fill in. And by the way, I know you know the sweet spot price point for everybody in the catering business? You know your favorite price? Free, cheap, cheap. How much is it? 39 cents. Cheap, cheap. Can we get it for 29 cents? Right? So that's one thing I know about catering. Okay, here we go. The big 3. If you can nail these big 3, you'll be very successful. In the middle of your sheets, you're going to find the word other. Right? So in the word other, if you find stuff that I'm mentioning today and you want a copy of it or you want some information, that's for you from me, and I'll be happy to send you the information. The big 3. The big 3 drivers. Do you know what they are? Here we go. It's 3 M's. Can anyone get this? And it's not Minnesota Mining Company, which is what 3M stands for. Anyone know what they are? Marketing, management. Okay. Marketing, you got one of them. Close. Okay, here we go. The market. Anyone else know the other 2? The message and the medium. These are your 3 M's. That's what I want you to walk away with today. I'm going to ask you at the end, what do the 3 M's stand for? And you're going to say market, message, and medium. Now, let's start with number 1, the market. If I could sell hamburgers, there's only 2 things I would want. If you could sell hamburgers, what are the 2 things that you would want? You want to tell me? I would want customers and product. I'll tell you what I would want. I'd want a starving crowd in the right location. Right? I was just in a hotel last week, and you know how much it was? It was a great price for a Nestle's Crunch bar. It was $4.50 in my room. And for a Snickers bar, it was $5. That's what you call a starving crowd in the right location. Right? So the first thing that we're going to be looking for is who are your hungry fish. We want hungry fish and irresistible bait. Hungry fish and irresistible bait. So there are a couple of types of hungry fish. Look. You know, there's a company called Sterling. You know what they do? They make satellites. And why is this so relevant? If you're a commercial fisherman, you know what's really helpful? If you know where all the plankton is. Because if you know where all the plankton is, you know what's right underneath all the plankton? All these little hungry fish going. So the satellite sends down the frequency to fishermen. It's not like they used to be. You know, they go and throw a net. If there's something there, they catch it. If not, now, today. So what you need is a satellite to find hungry fish. So let's define who are the hungry fish. There are 2 types of hungry fish. Who are these 2 types of hungry fish? Anyone know? Sorry, big ones and little ones? Okay, good. What else? Decision makers. Okay. Anything else?
The ones you want, the ones you don't want.
The ones you want, the ones that's half of it, you know. If you're tafasta maruba, lo tafasta. Tafasta mat, tafasta. Get that? It's Aramaic. It means tafasta maruba, you've grabbed a lot, lo tafasta. You don't get it. Tafasta mat, If you grab a little bit, you get it. So if you try to be all things to all people, you'll be nothing to nobody. There are riches and niches. It's much better to be a big fish in a small pond than a little fish in a giant pond. Specialize. So there are two groups of hungry fish. The first group is clients, end users, people who actually buy your service. The second group are referral sources. Who are these referral sources and the people that we're going to network with? Look, why is a referral source so powerful? An endorser fish, a referral, if you sell one job to one person, that's a little guy right here. If you sell and have a relationship with one referral source, they can send you lots of business for lots of years. That's called leverage. And so write this word down, leverageaholic. You want to become a leverageaholic. That means you don't want to do one-off, but rather you want to do something and then get leverage from it so you could do it again. And so now how are we going to do that? Do you know your LTV of a referral source? Anyone know what LTV is? Lifetime value. Look, you can't monopolize all these chocolates. But you're probably the one guy that can catch. Okay, so the lifetime value, how do you figure out the lifetime value? How many deals they're going to send you times the amount of years they're going to do that equals the lifetime value. So the lifetime value, surprise, this one guy, he could be worth $246,000 to you. Don't treat him the same as everybody else. We make the mistake. We have one website that's good for everybody. There are people that have special links on their website just for referral partners. And they have special campaigns just for them. So, who are your best referral sources? Yes?
What did you say that formula was? It was for the lifetime value.
For the lifetime value, you figure out the average transaction size times the number of jobs that they can give you per year times the number of years that they're going to be with you. Got it? Okay. Now is the time to listen very closely. Ladies and gentlemen, please tell me who are the best referral sources in the business that you can partner with now?
banquet facility.
A banquet facility, for example.
For a caterer.
What's that?
So for a banquet facility that has a preferred catering list.
A banquet facility that has a preferred catering list, right? So now, how much do you work with one? How much would you say that you've earned from them?
They kept me in business.
They kept you in business, worth maybe at least several hundred thousand or $1 million?
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. So our first proof of concept is we got over $1 million here, over several $100,000. Who else? Who else has someone that they work with? A media and event planner. So how do you work with media and event planners?
Well, they refer business to us. If we have a good relationship, then they'll bring us the business versus sending it elsewhere.
Right, so they'll bring you the business. How much would you say that you made from one or two? You have worked with one or more than one? More than one. And now that's interesting. Do you know what sometimes people say? I can't do that. You know why? Because if I don't give them business, they won't give me business. But you're working with multiple, and you probably don't give business to all of them, do you? So that means if you're thinking in your mind, look, the difference between two people, there's one organization that's really successful, another organization that's not doing so well. You know the difference? It's 6 inches. The 6 inches right here between your ears. It's your mindset. If you believe that you can and will be successful, you will be. And so if you believe that I can do a good job and I can network with these referral partners, you'll do a good job for them. So anything you do special with them?
We invite them over for lunches and things like that.
You invite them for lunches? Take care of them. Okay, what else? Yes, ma'am. Former clients, very good. Okay, who else has one? Yes.
Our employees, I work for a large hotel.
Okay.
Great referral program, and we talk to our associates about listen from their hairdresser to the guy who washes their car. They have life events, weddings.
So you have your people listening to the guests of the large hotel. And so the guests themselves can be, if you teach them what to listen for. So sometimes you got to teach the keywords what to listen for. And so what are some keywords that you teach them to listen for?
I think it's just asking the question.
What question?
Do you have any events coming? You told me last week about your daughter. She's graduating. Are you considering looking at a location for her graduation?
Lifestyle events, right? So do you have any events coming up? Okay, great. Anyone else? Who else? Yes, what do you got?
I think just people moving jobs is great referral because I'll have 6 people on a team and then they leave, go to a hotel, then they leave, and then.
Very good. So people moving jobs is good. Who else has one? Yes, ma'am.
There's like a Helms Briscoe or an HPN or some of the big
Helms Briscoe or HPM? Okay, HPN.
third party.
Third party, right? Okay, very good. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
You asked the lady what she did for her referral sources.
Uh-huh.
DMCs, things like that are also good referral sources for me.
but instead of being able to refer business back, as I'm often not able to,
Right.
what I do is provide a sound place for them to come where they'll look good for having made the referral. So
Ah,
I can't give
so you're working with,
I sell confidence.
you're working with them and you sell confidence. You give them a place that they could use, which is great. Very good, thank you. Anybody else? Yeah, two more. Existing clients, yes, thank you very much. Okay, yes.
Competition?
The competition. So what do you mean the competition? Aren't you afraid of your competition?
Well, I work for a marketing company, and we do a variety of things, so like a graphic designer that's in their printing business, or if they don't do something themselves, or if working with
I love working with my competition. I get a ton of business from my competition because remember, grab everything, you don't get anything. Grab a piece and you get it. Okay, so let's move on. This is business. It's a blank business. What is it? It's a compelling business? No. It is a relationship business. You're in the relationship business. And so that means that you need to do what? I have a prize for anyone that can do this. As a matter of fact, I'm going to give away a free vacation for the first person who gets out. If I have a tie, you don't get it. Ready? So this is what you have to do if you want to be successful. Anyone got it yet? S-E-E. What's it say so far? See the, very good. See the what? See the light? See the big picture? No. See the opportunity? No. Oh, people. Very good. So I need your business card. You want a free vacation. Not bad, right? So see the people. If you will just get out. How many of you had this experience? You know, you just decided business is a little slow. You got on the phone and you called some people and you went to see them face to face. How many people have got business by doing that? Raise your hand. Look around the room. So get off of your chair and go see them. So what happens is we sit there and we moan and complain. By the way, you see this rubber band I'm wearing? I'm wearing this rubber band because I'm trying to go 21 days without complaining. And so we sit in our office and we complain, right? So if you sit in your office or you sit in your anywhere and you just complain, it doesn't go anywhere. I've been working on it for a month and a half, and my longest I've gone so far is 7 days. And I'm on day number 3 right now. I'm going to get there. The average person takes about 6 months to do it. By the way, you can go to complaintfreeworld.com. If anyone would like one, I'll be happy to send you one. It's kind of cool, right? Can you imagine how different the world would be if you didn't complain and the people around you didn't complain? How awesome would that be? I saw my daughter, by the way. One day she was standing there and she had like a little pony on her wrist. And so she says, I hate doing the dishes. She looked at me and said, I know. Right? So, you know, I didn't have to say anything. Okay. So now how do you see the people? If they're clients, go attend local regional events. Go networking events. And what kind of... Now, you ask yourself, who should I be? And how do I identify this? It all starts on the inside. What do I mean by that? It all starts on the inside. Bald men drive sales. Do you know that bald men are beautiful? Right? So Dave's Uptown Restaurant, you know what he would do? Dave would say, we like when someone's not a braggadocio. I've seen some of your brochures and some of your stuff. We're the biggest. We're the best. We've been around for 27 years. I want to vomit. If you say price, quality, and service, I'm going to vomit on the spot. Right? Oh, we're the best. We're the best price. We're the best quality. We're the best service. Oh, get out. Give me a break. Right? Who's Hertz? Hertz, we're number 1. Who's number 2 because they try harder? Avis. Show your warts. So this is what Dave did. So Dave says, on Tuesday nights, which is the slowest night of the week, if you're 25% bald, I'll give you 25% off. If you're 50% bald, I'll give you 50% off. And if you're 100% bald, you're totally beautiful, and you get 100% off. Bald men never eat alone. So what can you do? Look, there's a caterer that they specialize in home brewing, so they advertise in Home Brewing Magazine. Another person is a climber. Another person is an evangelical Christian. And you find your niches. So look inside and say, who do I resonate with? Where's my niche? And when you find your local groups, so I'm in Baltimore, and Baltimore has Baltimore foodies. So you know what? If you're in Baltimore, you better be going to Baltimore foodies because these are your hungry fish. Remember, we want to go where they're hungry. And how about these? These are Women in Wine. And they've got local chapters. And these are people that they love this kind of stuff. And remember we said we're looking for good customers, not just customers. These are people that appreciate what you have to offer. I'm going to give you a tip. Some of you said you wanted a creative idea. I'm going to give you a new idea that most people don't do. Build a mastermind group. You know what I mean by that? How many of you know how to talk? Raise your hand. The Talmud says that there were 10 barrels of speech that came down to the world, and women took 9 of them. Okay, so that's my only racial comment for the day, my sexist comment for the day. So I was also clearly born with I have a strong female side because I like talking as well. the point here is get people who are good referral sources for you, bring them in a room once a month and say, I want to have a mastermind group. I'm looking for people that want to give business to one another. Get 6 to 12 people in a room. And if you do that, and if you're the host and you start to facilitate, Cheryl, I want you to meet Lisa over here. Lisa, do you know Mike? Yeah, come on in. We're going to try to think of ideas how we can help one another's business. I've seen organizations that do this. It's become like one of their major business pieces because you're the go-to. Does anyone like that idea? Creating a mastermind group? So write that down on your sheet of paper. The paper that I gave you, write down mastermind group. Hold your hand up if you would like to start a mastermind group. Right? So we'll give you some information on how to start and run a mastermind group. Okay. Now when you start having these events, what you're going to be looking at is what we did with this guy. So I helped him start to build small events and a mastermind group. And in doing so, you heard what happened to his business, that he was able to double the size of these and then also improve his closing rate by 100% as well. So now, you need a funnel, right? So this is what life is about. You build a funnel and some go in and then down, 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 and then you actually close some. So how do you feed your funnel? So let me give you a few sources for hungry fish. There's online and offline. This is what we call lead generation. There's going to be 3 steps, and I'll go through it a little bit more. Lead generation, lead development, and lead conversion. Right? And that's a process. You have to think about this in terms of a chess game. It's not just like, how do I get a piece of business, but think through the process. Or as they say in Canada, think through the process. So online you have organizations, and you know lots of these, like weddingpages.com or WeddingWire. The wedding market is a great market, but the wedding market is also like Bridezilla, right? It's not the only market, and there's a pro and con. Every great light has a great shadow behind it. So I like to go where there's blue oceans, where there's not tons of people competing. So where are some of those areas where they're not competing as much? So you can take a look at the American Institute of Wine and Food, and you'll see that they have local chapters when you go there. Also, you can look at Paper City. Paper City, they have a social calendar. Every city has different websites that they're giving you a calendar. Here's what's coming up. Awesome. So now, spend a little bit of time online doing your research. Remember, measure twice, cut once. Right? So spend a little bit of time doing the research, and then once you identify where that flow is, it starts to fill your funnel. And lastly are reader boards. Does anyone use reader boards? Right? So reader boards, anyone having good success with reader boards? Not so successful. Yeah, you have success with reader boards?
Yes.
In what way?
Just calling the businesses and calling the companies and getting them to try our property.
Right, so you get them to try your property, but what we know is that they're qualified. What it's not necessarily it's kind of a red bloody ocean, a lot of people fighting for the business. However, if you're good and you have a good proposal process, you can go through it. Okay, let's move on to step number 2. We did the market. Now let's talk a little bit about the message. Well, I want to spend a lot of time with the message because this is the difference between a successful company and a non-successful company. Do you know, how many of you have felt price pressure in the last year? How many of you are not going to answer any of my questions? Okay, so there's lots of price pressure. And do you know that how most people respond to price pressure? They lower the price. And when you lower the price, if you live by the sword, you die by the sword. You cannot be the cheapest guy in town. And when all else equals, then they only look at price. And so therefore, you need a way to differentiate yourself. It's not about discounting. Instead, what you need to do is create a story. He who controls the story wins. He who controls the story wins. I want to do a little experiment right now. What I'd like you to do, everyone find a partner, and I'd like you to tap. I want you to tap a song to the person right next to you. And no singing, no humming, just tap a song to the other person and see if the other person can get it. And then I want you to switch. Okay? Get it. On the count of 3, go. Now, go ahead and tap. Start tapping. Tap, 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 tap. Okay, switch. If you haven't switched, switch. Okay. Okay. So listen. this is kind of interesting. They did an experiment. They asked everybody, if we have everyone here tap, if we have everybody in the room tap, we had 120 people in the room, how many people, what percentage do you think are going to get it? And so you know what most people said? I think about 50% of the people, they said about half of you will get it. The results were 2.5%, right? How many of you actually got it? We got about 5 people. Pretty good. Now what I want you to do is go ahead and hum the song and sing the song to the person. Go ahead. Yeah, what you just did. So what do we learn? What do we learn from this other than the fact that people in your industry are terribly tone deaf? What do we learn? For real, who can tell me? What do we learn from this? Yes? What's that? How you deliver the message? Okay, what else? Listen, listen, listen. Thank you. How else? What else? Clarify your message. Okay, what else?
Everybody listens to the beat of a different drummer.
Everybody listens to the beat of a different drummer? Listen, here's one of the key things. Everyone always had a context in your mind. You already have a story going on in your mind. You knew the song. They didn't know the song. Everybody's busy, busy, busy. They're doing something else. The average person gets a ton of messages per day. They're busy doing things, and you jump right in the middle and you try to sell them something. So you have to ease into their song, ease into what, and they don't know what you're thinking about. And you know what happens? You start doing your marketing, your stuff, you're like, boring. You know how many times I've seen this, you say to yourself? They haven't seen it 1,000 times. As a matter of fact, they don't even pay attention to you. They don't even care about you. They're not really thinking about you. You walk into a room and like you've got high heels on, you're thinking, are my heels too high? You know, right? And no one even notices. And so the question is, what's going on in their mind? So how do we enter into the context of their mind? So now, what I want you to learn to do is, I want you to understand what the big aha is. The big aha, it's the big zig. You see, if everybody's zagging, how do you zig? Obscurity is the kiss of death. Doing the same as everybody else, you are dead in the water. Because then we just go lowest price. Who here would like to be a low price provider? Right? If that's not what you want to be, you better then learn how to sell the story. Okay, let me tell you a little story. This is a story about a guy that weighed 425 pounds. Weighed 425 pounds, and he was at University of Indiana. And you know what happened? He was so heavy that when he would go to see if he would go to that class or not, you know what he would do? He'd see if he can fit in the chair or not. That's how big he was. His doctor said, you're going to have a coronary. You're only in college. You're too young to do this to yourself. And so he realized he has to do something. Write this down. We all are either running from pain or running towards pleasure. You get that? So he said he finally had enough pain, and he said, I'm going to start walking. I'm going to start walking to class. I'm going to take the stairs. And you know what happened? He said, I'm going to have 2 sandwiches a day. I'm going to have a 12-inch for lunch and a 6-inch for dinner. And you know what happened? He lost 50 pounds. Then he lost another 50 pounds. Then he lost another 50 pounds. Do you know what happened to me if I lost 150 pounds? By the way, I am not skinny. I'm density challenged. So he lost another 50 pounds. And so he made such an impact on his roommate, Ryan Coleman, that Ryan Coleman wrote a story about it in the Indiana School Gazette. And a guy by the name of Bob Oswegia saw that and said, that is a great story. That's a great story. And so you know what he said? He calls the franchisor, and he says, this guy, you know this guy? What's his name on the count of 3? 1, 2, 3. Jared. How is it that everyone knows this fat guy that lost a bunch of weight? So he goes to the franchisor and says, hey, you think we can run a story on this? And you know what they said? I'm sorry, we're going to have 2 issues. Number 1 is we're going to have to say you have to have a disclaimer. Our attorneys, you know, all that kind of stuff, and you have to talk to your doctor and make sure it's okay. Plus, we already have a campaign. It's called 7 sandwiches under 6 grams of fat. That's a winner. And he's like, no, I'm telling you. So he goes to the ad agency, and the ad agency says, there's 2 types of budgets. There's national budgets and local budgets, and you ain't got neither. So they say, I'll tell you what, we'll send one guy there. We'll send one guy on campus, and if we can find the guy, we'll do 1 spot pro bono. We'll see what happens. So they send someone on campus, and they can't find anybody. And on the way out, they stop at the last sub shop, and they say, you know this guy? And they say, his name is Jared. And they say, great. So we'll run 1 spot. We'll have a picture of skinny me, old fat pants. And the next day, they got a call from Oprah, CNN, ABC, and NBC. And then the lines light up. And so now Subway says, you think maybe we can run that spot? I think that maybe will work for us. Their sales took off 22%, and then 19%, and then 20% in a declining market. You tell me the power of a story isn't important? The power of a story drives sales. I want to share with you now the ultimate story spotting tool. So if I can show you how to spot the story, would that be awesome or what? I'm sorry, we don't have time for that. So if we did, then I would be happy to share that with you. I'm just kidding. So I want to share with you the 6 rules how to spot the story. So number 1 is it was simple. So let's look at this. 7 grams of fat with 7 sandwiches under 6 grams of fat. Is that simple or complicated? Complicated. How about eat fast food, lose weight? You don't have to go to Jenny Craig. You don't have to count your carbs. You don't have to go to a meeting. You just eat fast food that's cheap and you lose weight. That is a champion. Number 2. Now, how simple is your message? How simple is your message? Well, we do NACE events and we do picnics and we do off-site catering. We do on-premise catering. And is it simple? Is it a resonant message? Number 2, is it surprising? How surprising is your message? 7 sandwiches under 6 grams of fat, surprising? Maybe if I really understood grams. Eat fast food, lose weight? Oh, totally surprising. How many of you have seen Super Size Me, right? Where McDonald's got harpooned. He who controls the story wins. They didn't control the story. Subway controls the story. Everyone thinks, oh, Subway's great, right? You eat their food, you lose a lot of weight. Oh, I don't know if that's true. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. But they control the story. And so it was also surprising. So ask yourself, how surprising is my materials? Now, who can tell me one thing about your business that is surprising that other people don't know? Who can tell me something about catering that the average person doesn't know? Yes, ma'am.
We pack their leftovers and none of our competitors do.
You pack their leftovers and none of your competitors do. Very good. Who else knows something that most people don't know? Yes, ma'am.
We have a winery in North Carolina, and we're the most visited winery in the United States.
Whoa! You're the most visited winery in the United States and North Carolina. And most people definitely don't know that. I wouldn't have thought of that. What's the name of your winery?
Biltmore Estate.
Biltmore Estate. That's a nice plug, right? Okay. Okay, we do 10% for plugs, by the way. So who else can tell me one thing that's surprising? This is how you need to start thinking. Go back and your homework is, what do we know that's surprising? National Enquirer, right? Inquiring minds want to know. Who else knows something that's surprising? Anything? Yes, sir.
Every dollar you spend goes back to the aquarium and the zoo.
Every dollar you spend goes back to the aquarium and the zoo. What do you do?
Work for the aquarium and the zoo.
That's really coincidental. That works out really well. That you work for the aquarium and the zoo. In the special events. Right, so in other words, what the dollars that you're spending actually support what you believe in, which is a beautiful thing. Okay, the next thing is your poobah. What's a poobah? Can anyone tell me the grand poobah? The grand poobah, that is your promise of an overt benefit always. Your promise of an overt benefit. You're in business to make a promise, a quid pro quo, right? I promise you something, and you'll give me some money for it, right? Now, it's got to be an overt promise, and it has to be benefit-driven. A lot of times we talk about benefits, but there's not promise-oriented. So 7 sandwiches under 6 grams of fat, promise? No. Eat fast food, lose weight? Yeah. It's an overt promise, and it's a benefit-oriented. Next, a reason to believe. If you make a promise, so why should I believe you? You know why I should believe you? These old pants. It passes the scratch test or the sniff test, right? Is that real? Did you buy those pants? No. They're old and they're faded. So when you're marketing stuff, is it real? Does it have a sense of palpability, or is this like huffy puffy? You know, all those huffy puffy words, that's not what you're looking for. You want real words. Next, it demonstrates a big zig. Notice me, 7 sandwiches under 6 grams fat? No. Skinny me? Fat pants? Yeah, I get it. Demonstrate how you're dramatically different from everybody else. Demonstrations. You ever gone to a country fair and the guy's showing how it slices and dices or the fold-out ladder, it does all this kind of stuff, right? So he demonstrates it. Finally, it's an emotional story. Now, he's fat and he's overweight and it's frustrating. And how much did he weigh, by the way? 425 pounds. Write this down. Specificity rocks. Specificity runs up. Generalities run off consumer like water off a duck's back. Specificity totally rocks. Right? Numbers and facts and statistics and real names rock. So I told you 425 pounds. I also took the time to tell you the story. You know what happens? You're so hungry for the sale that you don't take the time to tell the story. Okay. So now, what I want to share with you are some of the emotional hot buttons that you can use. Ultimately, it's all about story. The first thing is the desire to look good, right? So we guarantee we're not going to make you look bad, right? And that means that everyone wants to look good. How many of you have high heels? How many of you have high heels? Why do you wear high heels, right? Not because they're comfortable, right? You wear high heels because everyone looks good in high heels, right? We just all look a little better in high heels. And men wear tuxedos because everyone looks a little better in a tux. So we all want to look good. We want to look good in front of our friends. If we're sending a referral, we want to look good to them as well. Next, the desire to save. We've done work. One of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world is a client of ours. When we owned my previous company, so we did several $1 million per year with this one client. We had an office on site. And I had another client that sells yachts. And he sent his coupon to the owner of this yacht. It costs about $500 an hour just to burn the gas on the yacht. It's not a poor man's hobby, right? I play ultimate frisbee, right? It doesn't cost a lot for a frisbee. So what happened here was the guy comes in with his $15 coupon to see if he could save something. Everybody wants to save. You get that? Everybody wants to save. So the question is, how do you tweak that saving button also as well? Regardless of what your price is, why do you think there's always suggested retail price and then actual price? Right? So you want to create a price and then knock it down. Not be bogus about it though. So have real prices and then offer some sort of discounts and or bonuses that makes it better. Next, fear of loss. You need to create some sort of scarcity, some sort of urgency. People don't, what's the loss? You're spending a lot of money. You're having an event. You do not want to screw this up. Or you have an opportunity. I want to tell you, we only have so much bandwidth. We can only take on so many sorts of clients. Now you're doing what's called takeaway selling. If you try to be, oh yeah, we'll do it. We can do anything for everybody. Chill out a little bit, right? People don't want people that are too hungry in your face. So instead, you want to create a little bit of fear of loss. And finally, you want to avoid hassle and worry. Everybody, right? How many of you, like you're talking on the phone, you're doing laundry, you got something in the microwave, and you're checking your email all at the same time? Right? We all got 9 lives, right? So if you can make my life a little bit easier, I'm going to love you. So all of your clients, they're experiencing hassle and worry. And so if you could reduce my hassle and reduce my worry and show me how you're going to do that and how you've done it for other people, I'm going to love you. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Right? So go back and do that with your people. Now, it's all about who? It's all about me, baby. Right? And so that means go back and look at your material, and if you say me, us, I, or we, scratch it out and write the word Y-O-U. You. So for example, it's my event. It's not my mother's event, right? Whose event really is this? Is this about my needs? You know what? We're having an Indian wedding, or we're having a Muslim wedding, or we're having a Jewish wedding, or we want this cool, edgy event. So whoever they are, that's what I want to see happening. Right? And I want you to speak their language. See, obscurity is the kiss of death. So many of our stuff is so same. And you're afraid to take a risk, especially if you work for one of the big organizations, right? We always have to do it this way. Boring. Right? So boring is the world's worst sin. No matter how hard you try, you can't bore a person to sign a contract. Go ahead and sign. We'll get you exactly what you expect. Right? So we don't want to fall into obscurity. Instead, this is what your pictures look like. They are dull and boring and lifeless, right? Here's what our catering hall looks like. There's nobody in it, right? So that's not what we want to do. Instead, I'm going to give you a few ways to think about how to be outside the box here. So the trail dust. Has anyone ever been to the trail dust? The trail dust is awesome. You know what they do? They cut your ties off when you come in. And they put the ties all around the wall, which is great. You ever been in the ice castle? So that's great. So you can drink shots out of an ice thing. Or you can go to in Moldavia, no, in Maldives, they have this underwater restaurant, which is way cool. So how can you provide an experience? In doing so, the experience is a 360. So that means look at your materials that you're sending out. Look at your brochures. Look at your letterhead. Look at your, right, so here's the experience. It's an experience. We live in an experience economy. And so people expect an experience today. They don't expect products. They want the experience. Anyone know what this is? Anyone tell me what this is? The truck. Very good. How'd you pick that out? The four wheels thing, right? So it's a truck. Actually, I lived at one point in time, I lived in a Buddhist monastery, and I shaved my head, and I changed my name to Tempa Chopil, and I fasted for 1 week, and I lived in a cave, and I stopped speaking for a week, and this Lama told me, he said, go out and decide when is a car a car. So like if you take a car apart and you take all the windows off and you take the chassis off and you take at what point is it car, what point is it not car? Like with the windshield, with the motor, without the motor? That's my piece of philosophy for today. I still don't know the answer. So, so anyway, you know what this is? From our perspective, this is the wrong way. It's a big mistake. Look at this. Whoa. Is that way cool? Full wrap, full color graphics make all the difference in the world. Today with a small budget, you can make all the difference in the world. Okay, so we've spoken about messaging, and we spoke about different ways that you'll have your message. You can look at your uniforms. You can look at your signage when you're there. You're going to look at your trucks. You're going to look at your ads and your materials that are sending out. Everything is sending a message and how you're wrapping it. Now, let's move on to step number 4. We said it's first about, the first M is what? Market. The second M is what? Message. Very good. And the third M is? Mediums. Very good. Okay, so here's the deal with mediums. You got to be able to say this. If you can't say this, you have a problem. Here's how it goes. Some will, some won't. So what? Next. Some will, some won't, some won't. Next. If you can't say that, that means you're desperate. Nobody ever wants to buy from a desperate person. So if every lead and every job is so crucial, then you're in a problem. You want to be able to play whack-a-mole. So he who has the best list wins. Not the biggest list, the best list. So what we want to do is we want to build a list. Let me show you how to build a new customer. I told you I was going to share some ideas on how to build a customer. This is the main thing. Like if you can learn to get more new customers, this is how you do it. So the first thing is we want to have lead generation. There's this 3-step process they're going to go through. The 3-step process, lead generation. You always have to have part of your business that's always generating new leads. New. And putting new people in your list, and putting new people in your list, and putting some of those old people that you connected to in your list as well. And the second step is lead generation. And so once they come in your list, you need to nurture them and develop them and relate to them. And the third is lead conversion. Like some people make the mistake, it's kind of like you walk up to someone and you say, let's say you want to get married. You go to one of those places where you get married, like a bar, right? So you go up to someone and you say, hi, I'm John. Want to get married? She's like, I think I'm okay, thanks. Right? So you nurture it and you develop it. You have to have this dialogue. We're going back and forth. That's what nurturing is. So this is like a chess game, thinking several steps ahead. Many of us don't think several steps ahead. What we do instead is we just like do an action and then it worked out, didn't work out so well. So if we talk lead generation, lead development, lead conversion, now you have the other side of the business, promise making, promise keeping, right? You got 2 parts of the business. You're in the part of the business to make a promise, and he's in the other part of the business to deliver on that promise. Now, in promise keeping and promise fulfillment, you got 2 sides, the customer experience side, customer service side, and the operational side, right? It's front of stage, and then backstage. That's your operations side. And if you do this well, if you do this really well, then you get the golden heart. What's the golden heart? Referrals. And a referral goes right back into the same funnel. And when you plan this out correctly, then you have, someone gives you a referral, and you don't say, oh, well, let me start. You don't start over again. So many of us, you keep starting over. Instead, if you have a system, oh, yeah, let me send you the first step. Let me send you the second step. Go ahead and opt in here, and I'll take you through that process. Now, there's 2 types of reaching out. It's kind of like playing tennis, right? When you play tennis, you send a ball over the net, and what does the other person have to do to make it fun? They have to return it back to you. So that's what marketing is as well. I send it over to you, and you return it back. If you don't return it, that's called a one-way conversation. No one likes one-way conversations. And so you're going to have to move from being an unwelcome pest to a welcome guest. Let me show you how to do that. They're going to have two things we're going to call it. One is called a flurry. The other is called a nurturing campaign. So a flurry. What does a flurry look like? Well, I like direct mail in a business-to-business environment. How many of you like to call on either high-end consumer or other businesses or associations or large contracts? So if you do, it's still one of the greatest things in the world. So here's what we did. I wrote this book called The Secret of the Watermelon. You know what we did? We would take a watermelon and we put a bunch of stamps on it and a marker, and we mail it, and we give it to the mailman. And the mailman said, "What the heck is this? I don't know." And he would take it to the post office, and they're like, "Who the heck sent a watermelon?" And then they take it, sometimes we send it third class, and we'd get there next day. And how many of them you think would get broken? None of them! Because everyone's so freaked out about holding a watermelon. And the guy finally gets it, and what do you think when he gets it? Does he say, "Oh, look, honey, another watermelon"? I don't think so. He says, "Who the heck sent me a watermelon?" 100% response rates in that. Why? It's a big zig. Yes, you can mail a watermelon. And so it's awesome. So I want you to think about, now what we would do is we'd send multiple steps. So for example, for the NBA, we sent several steps. Have you ever seen this? It's a message in a bottle. I sent you a message in a bottle because I don't want you to get left stranded with an event and a caterer that's not going to know that's going to overcharge you or not going to be there when you need them. And here's a map inside of here. And then you send piece by piece. Or let me give you an offer that you can put right in the bank. And so here's an offer you can put right in the bank. Piece by piece. So this is a flurry. So 3 or 4 steps, you want to get a person's attention. If that doesn't work, you chill out. Now we move into what we call a nurturing campaign. So we did this for the NBA. Now if I sent you this trash can, and I had, can you say chutzpah? Not chutzpah. Chutzpah. Cover your neighbor. Right? So I take this letter, shove it in the trash can, open up. Now, if I sent that to you, would you open it, yes or yes? Yes. Absolutely, you open it. And some of you wouldn't do this because I'm Mrs. Professional. I wouldn't do such a thing like that. We have a professional letterhead. Yes, you know what? We want to be entertained. We all go to movies, and we like jokes, and we like to be entertained a little bit. And you can be super professional. If you get this in the mail, you're going to say, "I threw this away ahead of time for you because I knew you were busy, and I knew you'd throw it away anyway." Right? So you're entering that conversation. So with this, for the NBA, I got a 50% response rate. How many of you like to get a 50% response rate? Wouldn't that be cool? So here's what we need to do now. I now want to share with you the holy grail of catering growth. You know what it is? Kind of funny coming from a Jewish guy, right? So it's touch points. So look, SMEI, Sales and Marketing Executives International, wanted to know how many times you have to touch a person before they buy. How many of you ever done a direct mail campaign? Raise your hand if you've ever done a direct mail campaign. What kind of response rate did you get? 1%, 2%. So here's what they found. After the first contact, they got about a 2% response rate. By the way, there are fortunes that are made, and I've been part of this, by 1/4 to 1.5% response rates, fortunes that are made, if you know how to play that game. It's not the game I'm suggesting for you. But this is what happens. Oh, 2% response rate. By the way, 2% response rate, as long as it's paying for itself, keep doing it. Some people are like, "Oh, got a 2% response rate. That's stupid. I'm going to stop doing it." Who cares? If you made money from it and you got a job, do more of it. Next. Has anyone ever marketed the same person twice? Same person twice without them buying? So what happens? Got a 4% response rate. Has anyone ever marketed the same person 3 times without them buying? What, are you crazy? The same person only got a 6% response rate. Now, how about 4 times? You ever marketed the same person 4 times? What, are you crazy? 10%. Watch this. Watch. After the 5th contact, 81% of the sales. Do you get that? Here's the good news. And after the first contact, 83% of the people give up. After the second contact, 87% of the people give up. And after the third contact, 90% of the people give up. That means that only 10% of people stick it out. And that's professionally called stick-to-itness. For those of you who are visually impaired, so this is first, for those of you that are hard of hearing, this is the first contact, second, third, fourth, fifth. Boom! Do you get that? 5th contact. Maybe you're not so sure. So how many of you have anyone here have a dog? Right? So you're like, "Okay, come on, boy, lay down, boy, come on, lay down, come on, boy, lay down, come on, boy, lay down, lay down." Ah, good dog. sometimes you have to repeat yourself a little bit, right? So this concept of nurturing will work wonders in your business. Now, when you nurture to a person, what should you send them? So here's one thing that you could send them. At one point in time, I was probably considered the world's largest importer of Guatemalan worry dolls. So what does that mean? These little guys here, if you take these and you put them, there's a little legend in here, and kids would put them underneath their pillow. There's 6 of them in here, and they tell their worries at night to each little doll, and in the morning, all their worries go away. But on the business side, send it to them if you're worried about your event, if you're worried about someone that's going to show up on time, if you're worried about coming under budget and on time, then give me a call. I know a guy that gets a 22% response rate by sending this. If you build a list, there's an A list, a B list, and a C list, right? There are certain people that are worth more than others. How many of you are willing to build a list and contact people once a month for the next 12 months? Raise your hand. If you are, write down on the piece of paper that I gave you, write down the word nurturing. And I'll send you some information that will help you nurture your prospects and the referral sources and the media. Do you know what? I know one guy that did this. Anderson did it. They did over $1 million in business simply by doing it. Because remember, they might be ready for you in 3 weeks, 3 months, or 3 years from now, but they'll be ready for you. And it'll be like whack-a-mole. You know, the alligators will start popping at different times. So now, if you do that, I'm telling you, you come back next year and you'll give me the world's biggest hug and you can say, John, it's unbelievable. Most of you won't do it. Most of you won't do it. Those of you that will do it, I'm telling you, you will have an absolute major return on investment. Happens every time, everyone that does it. And if we ask people to stop doing it, they say, no way, there's no way we do it. Simple. A list of 25, 250 people. That's all. Start with a small list and add on. Yes, sir?
This is in reference to sending something.
Sending something.
What about just direct mail?
Direct mail. I like to say, you can mix up with flat and something dimensional. Now, one of the sites I own, by the way, is lumpymail.com. Flat mail, flat response, add a lump, you get a bump in response, right? Got that? Like flat mail, flat response, add a lump, get a bump, right? So you can get a lot of this stuff at lumpmail.com, or you can go to other websites and just get stuff, whatever resonates with you. You want to do 2 things. You want to entertain them and educate them. And you want to move from being an unwelcome pest to a welcome guest, because otherwise what happens? So, Mary, are you guys ready for some catering right now? No? Oh, okay, I'm smart. Can I call you back in a month? Sure. Oh, hi, Mary, this is John. You have a need? No, right now? Don't call you, you call me? Okay. So you're a welcome pest. This moves you from being a welcome pest to an unwelcome pest to a welcome guest, because now they look forward to your stuff. Does that make sense? And this, by the way, you can integrate email with this and other communications as well. Now, let's talk a little about social media. Does anyone know the largest search engine in the world? Google. Who's the second largest search engine in the world? Yahoo? No. What else? Bing? No. Facebook? No. Chinese Baidu? No. It is YouTube. YouTube is unbelievable. Who said that? Very good. So YouTube is the largest search engine in the world. So now, how many of you have a killer YouTube stuff happening? Look at this. Catering is actually kind of interesting and exciting. So now, how would you sell a boring product like a blender? Here's what he does. He blends a can of soup. He blends an iPod. He throws the whole iPod in there. He'll blend light bulbs. He'll blend cell phones and credit cards. And when he taps into the media, what's happening right now? He taps into the media and he'll blend an iPhone. And people want to know, will it blend? Yes, it blends. And how many people wanted to know? 6.89 million people want to watch his stupid video, and he's made millions and millions of dollars because he did something that was wow. He had a big zig. He's using video powerfully. You have some of the most interesting, fun, compelling stuff. Why don't you build the world's largest meringue pie? I'll tell you, one catering establishment did that, and they got tons and tons of views, and they got a lot of buzz. You can create all sorts of great things with your video. So the question is now, how do you do that in catering? Does anyone have a clue how to do that? Well, the first word is, let me give you a little tip. It's 2 simple words. Here's a little video that got 376,000 views. How many of you like to have 300,000 people just view one of your videos? Wouldn't that be cool? Right? How to. That's the key word. How many of you know how to fold a napkin? How it's really cool? How many of you know how to do really cool, interesting things? and how to make an event really special and spectacular. Why don't you do some how-to videos? People want to know. Inquiring minds want to know, and brides really want to know. So create some videos that are fun and interesting. And here's what my friend Meryl does, right? So she puts it on her website. So Meryl, you do a great job here at Festivities. On her, she uses Constant Contact. And in Constant Contact, one of the great things that she does is she's got videos on there, and she does a promo video and events, and people will watch that. Look, some of us are audio, some of us are kinesthetic, and some of us are video, and some of us are textual. So the more ways that you can interact with me, the better off. This is my one-page media plan. I don't have time to go over it, but if you'd like the one-page media plan, just go ahead and write on your sheet of paper, one-page media plan. I'll gladly send it to you, and I'll show you how to get it out there. Okay, our last 2 steps here. Step number 1 was what? The market. Step number 2 was what? The message. Step number 3 was what? The mediums. So now, if we have hungry fish, what do we need next? Excellent. We need irresistible bait. And if I'm talking about women, I need chocolate. That's endorphins of love, right? By the way, lots of little gifts are much better than one big gift, especially if you screw up in your relationship, right? So lots of small gifts make a much better impression than like one gift when you're trying to save your relationship. So I'm a big fan of that. Now, how do we have lots of little gifts in business? We need something that's irresistible. And where do you need this irresistible bait? Anyone tell me? Your story. Okay, what else? You need it at 3 places of the relationship. Remember we said lead generation. What was after lead generation? Lead development, and then lead conversion. So why don't we put irresistible bait at lead generation and at lead development and lead conversion? So let's put one, get a person just to raise their hand. That's the first place. I want a person to ask for more information. I want to have irresistible bait just to say, hey, I'd much rather deal with people who are hungry for what I have than trying to sell someone, right? You want to deal with people that raise their hand. Next, I want to have irresistible bait to meet with me. How many of you have a much better chance of closing a deal if you can meet with a person face to face? Absolutely. So give irresistible bait just to meet with you. And then finally, irresistible bait to close the deal. Right? And that we'll talk a little about what these baits can look like. Now, there's one more irresistible bait. Send us, what's the magic word? Referrals. Okay, so now let's talk about some irresistible bait. There's a few different types of irresistible bait. Can anyone tell me what they are? Anyone know what the irresistible bait is?
Something they don't have.
A giveaway, yeah. What?
Something they don't have.
Something they don't have, yeah. Okay, the first type is free information. Free information is my favorite. Why? Because it produces the most qualified prospect. The next type of free stuff is free stuff. So that can be a free vacation just for getting together with us. You know you can give a free vacation that's good for 2 nights and 3 days for about $5. If you want information on it, I'd be happy to send it to you. Just put on there free vacation. You can give a free shopping certificate for $500 for about $8. Something that has a high perceived value, low cost. Now, also there is free experience. So you guys are in the experience business, free food and free events. So now, Peter Dennis, we ran a contest which was very interesting. And you know what we did? Was we said, anyone who has the biggest return on investment for the smallest amount of money, we'll give a prize to. And I've got thousands and thousands and thousands of people that follow our stuff, and my team of coaches and consultants. And this one guy, Peter Dennis, he did. You know what he did? He's not even in your business. He spent $4,800, and you know how much he made? $749,000. And you know what he did? He had a party. And he invited all of his prospects and all of his past customers and all the referral sources. And he had to spend he spent $3,000 on his current customers. And they said, you know what? If we brought our friends, it cost him over an extra $1,000 for his friends. But that's okay, because he got extra business, right? So when you bring people together and you could see see the people. So this gives you an opportunity, an excuse, a reason to be able to see the people. I want to give you another strategy that some of you may or may not be using. This final strategy is to be the expert, not just a vendor. So those of you that like to speak, this is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to change your positioning in the market. When you go to any of these networking events, you can be a speaker. You can speak at the Chamber. You can speak at the Quantas. You can speak at Women in Wine. You can speak at all sorts of venues and be an expert. See my hand? all the fingers are pointing out to you because I'm abundant. I'm sharing. When I close it up, all the fingers are pointing back to me. You never lose by being abundant. You never lose by being abundant. Share and give away. And that's okay if people knock you off because people will like you. Next. So here's another great thing that Meryl does is, if you're engaged, we have a free seminar for people who are getting married. Wow, they just want to soak up information, which is great. Now, so you can offer all sorts of seminars. Meryl, have you had good response with this? Right? Is it worth its return on investment?
Yes.
How much would you say you made from doing just this?
Dollar-wise?
Yeah.
It could be $150,000 a session.
$150,000 a session. Would that be worth your time? Yes or yes? Absolutely. So take some time, plan it out. Meryl can help you give some information on how she does it actually, and also guide you in terms of how to set up such a session. Now, wouldn't it be cool? I want to do a little contest. We're going to do a business card contest right now, and I'm going to give a free vacation for the person that has the best business cards. Send your business cards in the middle. I want to see your business cards, and we're going to have a free vacation, 2 nights and 3 days, for the person that has the best business cards. Send it in. Everybody send them in. Send your business card. Okay, let's see what we got here. All right, so I've got Atlantis Catering Resort, and I've got Marriott, and it looks like every other Marriott card I've ever seen. Okay, and oh, I've got some hot chili peppers on the back, and I got the food guy. That's not bad, right? And I've got Nicholas Waller. That is clean, Nicholas. Okay, very good. Okay, so we got Kim Ritchie, Chicon Plaza, Molto, Brandon, Food, Fort McDonald, Absolute, it's kind of embossed. You don't know what I'm looking for, I'll show you. Starfleet, it's embossed. It's very pretty. Nice gloss picture of a fancy yacht. That's what I think about your business cards. But I am going to give a prize. Valerie, see me afterwards, and I'm going to give you a map. By the way, putting a map on has increased response rates by almost 28%, and I'll share with you how they did it. Let me show you the difference in my business card. Are you guys getting value out of this? Yeah. If you are, give me a little bit of feedback, yeah? Yeah. Okay, great. So what I want to share with you is the difference in my business card and your business card. My business card looks just like yours. I own your business GPS, it's a publishing company, and lumpymail.com and Brand Launcher. The difference in my card and your card is the back. The back, I have something that you don't have, which is a CTA. I am the authority. I've written something. And I have a promise how to turn on your business and your life, and a CTA. What's a CTA? A call to action. I've had thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people take my stuff and go online and join my list. Wouldn't that be cool if you had a great list of people that followed you? And so I want to give you a gift. Here's my gift to you. The 10 tips you must know before you plan an event. Insider advice. And it's going to have your name on it. How many of you would like to be an author instead of just a vendor? How many of you would like to have this on your business card or on your website? So it's my gift to you. You know how much I'm going to charge you for it? Free. That's my gift to you. Right? And so just like we got Goldman on here, so it'll have your name on it. Now, the difference is that you can have people that will start to opt in. What's behind, and if you like that, by the way, write it on your sheet, free ebook. Go and write on your sheet, free ebook. Okay, now, what's the law behind this? The law behind it is the law of reciprocity. Every mother teaches their child to say what? Thank you. So everyone teaches them to give them a gift. Right? So if someone gives you a gift, you have to say thank you. Phil Carney, a friend of mine, he's on an airplane. He says to the guy, hey, let me see your business card. He puts his business card in a little letter opener. You know the quick point letter openers that have a zippy blade on it? He hands it to the guy, and the guy's like, wow, cool. My own personalized letter opener. So he reaches between his own legs and goes like this. Here, this is for you. What's that? It's a gold necklace. Why you give me a gold necklace? You gave me something. I got to give you something too. A 75-cent letter opener for a $75 gold necklace. The law of reciprocity is immutable. Be abundant and give and share abundantly. Does that make sense? So we want to live abundantly. And the very last thing that I want to share with you is if we're in the business of making promises, so the question is, how do we believe your promise? They trust you about as far as they believe you. And this is the guy, oh yeah, you do a great event? I don't know you, I don't know your company, and I don't know what your company stands for, I don't know your customers. So imagine they're like a big slug. You got to get them off the couch and be able to get involved with you. Now, How are you going to do that? You can do that several different ways. I'm going to share with you the single most persuasive word in the English language. I want you to listen very closely because if you get it, you'll get a prize also. And I'll give you a free vacation, right? You'll get a free prize. And I've used it because you don't even realize it works. It works so well because it goes underneath your radar and because you get something free. Anyone catch it? Free? No. Listen more closely. You'll get it because you don't even realize it's working on you. And you don't even know when it's working because it goes right underneath the radar. Do you get it? It is not you. It is because. Write down that word because. And let me show you why. Ellen Langer, a social psychologist, had an experiment. And she said, I'm going to have someone walk up to a Xerox machine, and they're going to button line, and they're going to say, excuse me, I have 5 pages. May I use the Xerox machine? What percentage of people do you think let them in? 0? You're like a rough crowd. Right? So 60% of the people let them in. 60% let them in. The second experiment. Excuse me, I have 5 pages. May I use the Xerox machine? Because I'm in a rush. What percent let them in now? 94% of the people let them in. That's mind-blowing. But wait, here's where it gets really interesting. The third group. Excuse me, I have 5 pages. May I use the Xerox machine? Because I have to make some copies? Huh? Excuse me, I have to make the Xerox machine because I have to make some copies? What percent do you think let them in now? 0. 93%. Whoa. Right? So this word because is very powerful. So now how are you going to use this word because? Let me share with you how. It's the last thing. Testimonials. There are 3 ways to get a person to believe you. Number 1 is testimonials. Number 2 is research. And number 3 is demonstration. So I only want to talk about testimonials today. This is what some of your testimonials look like. Coastal Catering was great to work with, MR. You know what that is? That is vague. That is lame. And who is MR? Right? So instead, that's an ordinary testimonial. I've seen your testimonials, and they are mega lame, even those that do have them. Finally, let me give you a great testimonial. Here's the right way to do it. They have a headline that overcomes an objection. I want you to write down, this is my homework, go write down the objections and how you'll overcome those objections. You want to overcome the objections. What's the number 1 objection you get all the time? Costs too much. What's the second objection you get? What's that? Location. So you better go write down those objections and then do what? Don't say it yourself. Have your customers overcome your objections for you. And you put it into a headline because people read by headlines. And next, have pictures of real people. And have real names and real places because people do business with people they like and people they know and trust. And then you'll have specific benefits and real stories. Okay. So now I need to share with you something that's crazy. I worked with Paul Johnson from the Shed Shop. He sells sheds. It's the most boring thing in the world. He has 2 reports that blow your mind. He's got the 8 notorious problems of sheds and how I've overcome them. Now, you probably didn't know there's notorious problems of sheds now, did you? And he also had the 83 ways that sheds have changed people's lives. Did you know that a shed can change your life? Would you like me to show you how? This woman right here. She says, I'm a school teacher, and my husband and I, we live in a small house, and because we have a small house, I have my stuff all over the house, and he's always tripping over, and our marriage was going so much on the rocks, and it was so difficult, and we were always fighting. But now, thank God we have a shed, and our marriage is back together. Are you kidding me? The guy's like a marriage counselor, and he's selling sheds. So you can add emotion even into your testimonials. Okay, so now, we've completed what we need to complete today. And I want to give you a big warning. What's the warning? You know what this is? A rubber band. And why am I giving you this warning? Because you will fall into the rubber band syndrome. That means you come here and you get all excited and you got new ideas and you're going to stretch out and it's going to be great. And you're going to revert back to shape. But instead you're going to take some action. How many of you are committed to taking some action from today's session? Very good. So now, let's say it all wraps up with one word. I want you to watch this closely. Great array. Okay. So now, let's look at what we looked at today. So there are 3 M's, right? We have a different 3 M's, and it's all about this message, right? So what are the 3 M's? The first one is the market. The second one is the message. And the third one is the Beautiful. And we said that in order to fish, if we were going to sell hamburgers, we only want two things. What do we want? We want hungry and irresistible bait. So we want to try, there are two types of hungry fish. What were those two types of hungry fish? End users, customers, and referral sources. And we're going to treat them differently, are we not? Next, we spoke about how bald men are beautiful. And we talked about showing your warts, being a little bit vulnerable instead of being a braggadocio. And we talked about creating a mastermind group. And some of you are actually going to create mastermind groups now. And we spoke about creating a funnel. And we want different lead generations just to put more names into the funnel. And you're going to think like a chess game, several steps ahead. And then when we spoke about the message, we said the difference that's going to be, if you live by the price sword, you will die by the price sword. And we don't want to be the lowest price in town. And then ultimately we spoke about selling the story. And we talked about how Jared, and I gave you the secrets of Jared. And what were some of the secrets? The promise of an overt benefit, the curiosity, and having a simple message, and having a reason to believe, and a promise, and having an emotional story, right? And a big zig. Then we spoke about the 4 hot buttons. Ultimately, it's all about emotion. Does anyone here have a luxury car? Who has a luxury car? Come on. What do you got? You have a Mercedes. Don't you know you can get to work just as well in a Corolla? But you buy it because emotionally you want to buy it, right? And so we spoke about the emotions, and the emotion is to look good. And we spoke about the emotion of avoiding hassle and fear of loss. And we spoke about, ultimately, the different mediums. You want to have a lead generation, lead development, and lead conversion process. And we said, some will, some won't, so what, and next. And you can do that because you have a funnel. Ultimately, we spoke about the Sales and Marketing Executives International, their survey. And we spoke about after the 5th%, what percentage of sales come after the 5th contact? 81% of the sales come after the 5th contact. How many of you are now going to have stick-to-itness? Raise your hand high so I can see you. Right on, baby. So you are going to be of those 10% that stick it out. And ultimately, we spoke about will it blend and how several million people have logged onto their YouTube. And you're going to create some YouTubes. And we spoke about creating irresistible bait. And there are 3 types of irresistible bait. What were they? Free information, free stuff, and free services. And we spoke about switching from being an expert to a vendor. You could do that. How many of you consider yourself an expert? Raise your hand. So you might as well hold that position. And now you're going to publish or perish. And I'm going to give you the free ebook cover, and you're going to generate this. And if you need help with how to do that, I'm happy to share that with you. Ultimately, we talked about reason to believe and testimonials. So here's my gift to you. I'll give you this free book with your ebook cover with your name on it. And I've got 4 things for you. Number 2 is I've got the best of the best GPS. How many of you like the rest of this? If you got value out of what I share with you, how many of you like the rest of that? How many of you got some value out of this? Yeah? All right, baby. So I'm going to give you the rest of that. Ultimately, I'm going to give you the watermelon secrets. And these are the 3 things we have. And the last thing is, today I've got one-on-one meetings. I'm here all day. I'm sponsored by NACE already. So if you'd like to meet with me, for 15 minutes, I'm doing one-on-one sessions with you. It'll be right in this room, and it's on first-come, first-served basis. Happy to do it. You don't want to know what I charge per hour, so I'll be happy to do that with you, and it'll be on a first-come, first-served basis. Go ahead and take your minute now, fill in your sheets, and then bring them up to the front. I want to thank you for your time today, and I wish you a great day.
Ladies and gentlemen, marketing expert Jon Goldman.
Thank you so much.